You're on?
Yeah.
All right, guys, so the video you're about to watch is a video about winning. In the video, I referenced Travis Mayer winning workout 17.4. We filmed this Thursday early afternoon and then found out later in the day that they gave him a couple no reps and he actually ended up at third in the world. I had a bunch of people email me like, what's going on, whatever. It is what it is. This is what sports are all about. Like, we watched the video. We thought that the workout met the standard. There were 4 no reps, and then they lowered the score. And part of sports, I think, is getting over that disappointment and those emotions and those feelings quickly. So we're not watching the videos side by side and comparing other videos and petitioning. Like, it doesn't change anything about Travis's goal. And I thought it was ironic and a perfect video because the entire theme of the video is that winning is so much out of our control. And we did everything that we thought we could to secure a victory in the workout. You know, we're still super proud of the effort. We're super proud of what was accomplished. But in the end of the day, when the chips were all settled and the judges made their judgment calls, he took third. So it doesn't change the nature of the video. We're still really excited to put this video out, and all of the stuff that I talked about still holds true. So hopefully you enjoy it.
But it's an endurance sport, unless the layout changes. But if the open stays the way that it is right now, you need an engine and you need muscle endurance and you need proficiency in gymnastics to get through stage 1. So if you don't develop that, you're just wasting your time. So you still do need to get stronger. If you're like way off in your strength metrics, it still needs to be a prioritization, but it shouldn't be your obsession.
Hold on, what? We're just starting?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, sweet posture, bro.
That's how you want my energy in this fucking video? You unsupportive shit. All right. All right. All right, so I wanted to talk about winning. It's the Open. Travis won the Open workout in 17.4 in the world, which was a pretty cool thing to watch. And it stimulated some thoughts about, as my organizations got bigger, as our media investment and starting to kind of take the next step of getting out there and putting our thoughts out there, I started thinking, like, I really need to think about what the message is that's being crafted, that's going out in the media, that people are going to hear about. And it has become apparent to me that the current sport culture, especially in the CrossFit world and other sports that are more evolved, I think people understand how complex it is. But in the CrossFit world, who's ever winning at the time, or who's ever putting people out that are, you know, the really really high notability, the very notable people that are improving from year to year are put up on a pedestal of organizations and used as marketing, and then it creates the illusion that whoever that coach is can create winning. And that's something that I wanted to make sure that I shot dead in its tracks and didn't allow to happen from my perspective in my organization. I know people can make their own assumptions, but the small amount of control that I have of my own content, I want to make sure that I'm not putting that message out there. People have reached out looking for coaching because the experience didn't go well in the Open. I've talked to my coaches, and, you know, in spite of having awesome training years where every metric got better, retest of past year's Opens, and every one of those metrics get better, they see the leaderboard and they don't like what they see because they hate losing, they hate the disappointment, their expectations weren't met. And sometimes it doesn't really happen that much with our organization because I think we're just very honest up front with people about how hard it is to use the Open as a marker of progress from year to year if we don't have the same workouts. But I wanted people to ensure that a coach, or people that people knew that a coach cannot guarantee victory. They can't even guarantee progress, unfortunately. And that's a tough concept to talk about as a coach, and I thought that it was an important thing to start to get out. Coaching has been a very sacred thing to me. I think in my younger years as a human, I don't think I knew how to take care of myself, how to take care of my needs, how to take care of my body, how to take care of my mind and my emotions. And the process of coaching allowed me to do it for other people and get better at doing it for other people, and then turn and use those methods on myself. So I feel somehow indebted to other people, to strangers, to people that have trusted me with their quests, because it's allowed me to improve myself as a human being, improve my emotional state, improve my body. And I'm really grateful for that. And I have learned potentially more from people who are untalented and who lost in their quests and who didn't achieve things than I have from the people that I've coached that actually achieved things. Doesn't mean I think, losers are more important to me as a coach than winners, but it definitely means that the couple people that have the right circumstances and all the stuff that's perfectly in line with winning are more important to me. They're not. They're just part of my story and part of my coaching process, which means that winning can just be part of our media strategy as we go out. So I wanted to make sure that I was setting my organization up with the principles that govern our coaching process, and that I wasn't setting myself up to say, well, I can guarantee winning, or look at what's happening with our athletes. We're winning, so you can win too if you're part of our organization, because I think that's just a lie. I think that people that do that generally set themselves up for long-term failure, because if you don't have the right athletes in your organization with the perfect circumstances and everything going right, then what happens, a year, 2 years down the road when there's a new high-profile athlete and you lose all your visibility? So I thought if I needed to have consistency in the market, and I needed to constantly build athletes, produce athletes, take athletes that felt like they were beat up and run down and improve their long-term health and get them back on the competition floor, then I needed more than just winning to be my marketing message. Winning just in general, or progress, like I said, just can't be guaranteed. So why is that? So if I use Travis as the example in the 17.4 workout, when I took Travis on, he was excellent at deadlifts, excellent at wall balls, and excellent at rowing. Now this was in 2012, because I've been coaching him for 5 years. So what excellence was in 2012 versus now is a very, very, very different subset of numbers. But because he's progressed at a level that kept him at the top of the sport, his metrics in those three things are still like at an elite level amongst elite level athletes. Now, handstand push-ups was more of a weakness when we started. He has some thoracic cage limitations, which makes his overhead position in the past really bad, but we've ran so many overhead cycles, handstand push-up progressions, basic gymnastics, positional work, and constantly layered in design stuff into his design that allowed him to be better at that. So the circumstances lined up that was not a component enough of the workout to prevent him from taking advantage of his biggest strengths. Not only that, but there was a perfect environment. So Travis is much more comfortable if he's in control of his environment, if he's got to go one time, warm up, somebody else comes into his environment because this is his gym. We just have a piece of the floor, other games competitors. It was super fired up environment, and he just knew that he could win the world. And that's a perfect environment to create winning. Now, what role did I have in that? I had a very small role in it. I mean, yes, I've been with him for 5 years. I've created a lot of progressions. I've helped him develop his psyche and continue to help improve competitive stuff. But really, if I tried to take credit for that, what kind of a coach would I be, taking away the spotlight of my athlete for something that he's worked for 5 years to attain? He wanted to win, and not that this is his win, because he's aiming to be on the podium as a CrossFit Games athlete in Madison this year. So this is really just one stepping stone on his path, but I don't want to take credit for that. I can't take credit for that. If I took credit for that, am I taking credit for every loss that happens as well? If somebody gets sick 2 days before an event and they lose, is that my fault? I think people just want to take too much power and too much responsibility as coaches, and there's just too many things that go into the equation of winning. Genetics play a part, how people were raised and how their self-concept and their confidence was developed, how their body responds to pressure and attention and money stressors and visibility, how they feel about their bodies and the way that they look, what's going on with regards to pain in their nervous system, what their finances are like to afford soft tissue work, how their mind understands their sport. There's so many things. A coach can kind of guide the process and allow them to get closer and closer to their optimal self in the sport. But if they win, if that one person has the perfect circumstances and gets to that point, it's not me who's creating that. I am one little component to the massive formula that goes into winning. And I think it's important for people to understand that just circumstances in life change. People get older. And when you're older, there's some point in your physical development where you're getting better, you're getting better, you're getting better, you're getting better, and then you crest. And that crest, it could happen like anywhere from 22 to 32 to 35. We don't really know the point at which we actually physically stop being able to get better. Now, you could still get better in other little things, your approach, your mind state, details, pacing, execution, so you can still improve in your sport, but your body is starting to decline. And a lot of people in the market, they just hate to admit that. I'm gonna fight aging. I'm gonna be the one that fights aging. Good luck with that. I'll put your trust fund or your legacy on the line, and I'll bet that by the end of your life, you're dead like everybody else. There's just no way around that. And if we know that that's where we're going, there's some point at which in the natural cyclical process of life, we grow, we evolve, we expand, and then we retreat and we retract. And that period of time in your training history is about trying to slow the deterioration. So you're working hard compared to your peer group to slow the rate of decline. And I know that's really hard for some people to understand, especially in this sport. If you hit that point as an elite athlete and you're 28, 29, 30, not that that's old, but when you're comparing that body to one of somebody who's 22 or 23, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is how I did this year, and I've been getting better and better, and now I want to, get this new coach and this new way of looking at things, and I want to close the gap, and I want to win. It's possible that you do everything right, and you get worse at the games the next year just because of the laws of biology and how our bodies work. And that's a very hard thing for people to understand, but it's just part of the fact that circumstances change. Another really hard part in our sport is that the workouts change from year to year, from the open to regionals to the games. They're always different. Now, if you have somebody like Rich Froning or Matt Frazier or somebody that's perennially proven that they're good no matter what comes out, and that's what CrossFit's main objective is to find the fittest, then they're gonna be a little bit more bulletproof with regards to the chaos that is thrown out. But with regards to everybody else that falls in that, in that pool of best of the rest elite athletes, there's going to be some variation dependent upon workout selection. If you talk to most elite athletes, they know what their jam is or what their strength is, and they want to hammer those things. They want them to come out. They're looking forward to those things that come out. Similarly, they know what their weaknesses are, and they're a little bit more timid and scared of those and have to kind of take their medicine on those workouts. And that's just the nature of reality. If Dave Castro has control of the workout selection as it comes out and the team at HQ, then we know from year after year that we can't really guarantee progress. We're eventually going to get exposed, or somebody who has a weakness because of the way their body's set up is just going to get exposed, and you can't really do anything to control for that. Learning speeds of people's brains are different. There's just so many variables that go into it. So really the conclusion point of this whole introductory thought was that nobody can guarantee winning because it just doesn't work like that. It's too complicated of an issue. There's too many inputs. I could give two of the same exact people in terms of like body size, age, where they grew up, what they look like, and give them the same exact plans, and they'll progress at completely different rates. And we just don't really know exactly why that's the case. It doesn't look like athlete A should be able to be a world-class athlete and athlete B can't even make regionals, but it is what it is. Same methodology, same approach, same communication strategy, same way of pushing them, same philosophies, but one person gets better. And if I took credit for the one that gets better, then I also similarly got to take credit for the one that gets worse, and then it's my fault. And that's an unrealistic expectation for me to put on myself as a coach, and it's also an unrealistic expectation for an athlete to put on their coaches, because then they're not taking personal responsibility. And I find a lot of coaches that want to control their athletes. And then there's a lot of athletes that don't want coaches because they perceive that they're relinquishing control of themselves, their thought processes, and the things that help them win. But I don't really think that's what a coach is providing, or at least under the umbrella of my organization, that's not what a coach is providing.
And when you're saying winning, you're also talking about, it could be getting lean or...
Yeah, it could be any goal. So a six-pack in 6 weeks. I want to put on 20 pounds of muscle. I want to finish, I want to make the regionals this year. Whatever goal you put on that's looking in the material world, no coach can guarantee that. It's just not possible. Now, will there be, if I took 100 people and I said, okay, if you're within 20 pounds of body fat, of 6% body fat, can I give aggressive nutritional strategies and aggressive training that gets those people to 6% body fat in 6 weeks? Yeah, if I took 100 people, maybe 25 to 30 of them would actually get the goal that they were going after. But then what happens to the other 70? Right? Like that is what I'm trying to get across, is that methods of coaches will lower the statistical likelihood of failure, and they'll better allow you to deal with failure. But you can't just have this unrealistic hope and expectation that if you jump on any program with any coach, with anything that's popular, that just because you're doing it, you're guaranteed to get the outcome. Just because you're paying money, you're more likely to get your goal. It's just unrealistic. And winners, right? So the winner in the market might be the coach that has the high profile athlete. They might say, oh, well, look at what I did. I have this athlete. But if you look over trends over time, there's always somebody out there, comes out, right genetics, right mind state, crushes it, coach gets popular, coach gets notable. Then what happens 2 or 3 years later when they don't have the influx of that special person anymore, and that special person then wants to start their own stuff and make their own money and start their own career, then the popularity and the notoriety of the coach goes down. So setting yourself up for that, even as a coach, I think is a bad strategy. But it is human nature to think whenever something is going well that it's you, right? So I've fallen into this trap before in my life. Things were going well, in my younger athletic career, like, oh, why do you win? What's going on? What do you do? And I just, think things like, I'm just mentally tougher than other people. Like, I get on a mat, I'm just gonna beat them up just because I want it more. And you actually believe that. There's a principle in psychology, I forget what it's called. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect, I think. But you don't know what you don't know. And life experience will show you over time that if you think that you're winning because of some magic formula that you have, when you're no longer capable of actually winning, or when you don't have the athlete that's capable of winning, and you try to plug somebody else into that formula, it's most likely not going to work. If it were that easy, then whoever had the secret formula from the dawn of time would have been passing it off to generation to generation to generation, and the same group of people would always be winning no matter what. It's just not that easy.
We'd all be dating 10s.
Yeah. So after that, it kind of is like, well, I can't help you win. It's kind of a depressing message, but I don't think that it is. So I want to just conclude with, what do I think a coaching organization can actually provide? First of all, thought in general is stressful. If you start to think about the nature of reality, you start to think about where you're going, why you come from. They're profoundly stressful on your psyche, and they uproot everything that holds you into reality and defines who you are. That same thing is true in the sport of CrossFit or in any sport. There's so many things that come out: biomechanics, nutrition, biochemistry, pacing and execution of workouts, statistics, and all of that stuff is really stressful to think about. So as an athlete, you can take, okay, as an athlete, I need to think about how I perform on game day, my day-to-day training, and my food, sleep, lifestyle, loved ones. Everything else I can remove and I can give to my coach. And my coach can then take that responsibility and burden of thought off of me and lower my stress levels so I can focus. Coaches generally should be better at thinking than athletes because they should have spent more time doing it, more time with their heads in books, more time working with athletes, more time consulting with psychologists and figuring out how to deal with people and how to communicate messages. And that should be a relief to athletes. It's important to have somebody in your corner, I think, somebody that you could actually talk to after a loss and figure out, like, man, that didn't go the way that I wanted, or that was awesome, how can I do that again, and help you redirect your emotions. So generally, you have loved ones or a family that if you feel sad, they want to make you feel better. A coach, if you feel sad, they need to figure out how to take that sadness, proactively get the emotional state back into a determined place and utilize the energy to move forward to continue to progress. And that's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. I'd actually just recently watched a documentary called Dying Laughing, and it's about stand-up comedians, and they talk about how far you can go as a comedian is based or determined by how much pain and anguish and humiliation you can take on stage. I think that same thing is true in tons of different fields. So in athletic development, how many losses can you take and get back on your feet and keep fighting? That's really hard for people to do. And sometimes champions have never had to experience losing, so they don't even know what that is like. But most people are not the people that are going to win the games 4 times in a row. And so does that mean, well, you shouldn't even try because you can't be that person? You can still have awesome careers, awesome earnings, and you can define your story and build a life that's really purposeful and meaningful for you to live. And it's important, I think, to have a coach that has experience to give you some context about how to do that effectively and how to learn from the mistakes of other athletes that they've coached over time. I think a coach also can keep people safe. I think there's a lot of coaches out there that are really good at pushing athletes, but if you push athletes hard enough, eventually you'll break them. If you're not also aware of how to pull them back, when to push them, when to time the pushing and the pulling, when to communicate that this is too much and your body is showing us signals that you're not handling it well, and being honest with people and breaking those issues down and having that honest and open communication. And then I think the last thing is just asking appropriate questions that make you think about what you're doing, think about who you want to become in the future, think about your day-to-day approach, think about what you could do better. I think for some reason, coach, mentor, these words have been thrown out there as if they are authoritative positions. And I've always said, it kind of boggles my mind that people want to come to me for advice because I consider myself a habitual student. No matter what I'm doing, I'm always trying to learn. So when I take on a new athlete, they're like, well, what should I do? And I'm like, well, I don't know yet. That's what we're going to try to figure out together. I'm going to ask you questions, tell you what I've done in the past. I'm going to get a plan in place. We're going to see how it works. If it doesn't work, we're going to write a new plan. We're going to sit down. I'm going to ask you questions. If you bomb at an event, I'm going to ask you what you think happened. And this process just continues to reinforce and build a stronger and stronger and stronger relationship. And the longer you're with an athlete, the better you can serve them. So in some ways, I kind of consider myself a servant, a subservient to my athletes. A lot of times I think I know the right thing to say, and I think I want to tell them that, but it would be counterproductive for me to try to assert authority and make them feel bad about themselves. So instead, I'm just going to let them make this mistake because I don't think it's going to ruin their career. And then afterwards, I'm going to tell them, hey, I think that you were a little bit overconfident. You didn't know how to analyze this situation, but it was an important learning experience, and now we can learn from it. And next time, if I tell you something and you disagree with it, think twice about why you're disagreeing with it, because your feelings aren't a valid way to analyze how to do something moving forward if you want to be the best in the world. So I guess that just in conclusion means that a coach is in some ways a relationship that you're going to be building, which is important because we live in a very disconnected world where we don't have a lot of real ties. It's helping you create a mindful approach without having to do too much thinking. And then in some ways it's a guide. They're guiding your questions, guiding your inquiry, and guiding kind of who you want to become in the future. So I think to have a really good conclusion to a serious topic, I found a great philosopher, Chris Farley, and he once said, if you want me to take a dump in a box for you and mark it guaranteed, I will. I think that's what a lot of coaches would promise to do if they tried to guarantee you success. They're just wrapping up a pretty lie so that it's appealing to you, and then you can jump on board, and if it goes well, you're really happy, but if it goes poorly, you're severely disappointed. So I think it's important to become a conscious consumer of coaching, a conscious consumer of methods, to continually educate yourself and continue challenging whoever puts themselves out as an authority. So that includes me, right? So if I'm putting myself out here now, think critically about what I'm saying, challenging it, get other alternatives, go talk to other coaches who hate me and think differently than me and get their opinions, and then make your own decision. So good luck in 17.5, finish the Open strong, and thanks for watching.
I was waiting for that one.